Like, what are we doing this in service to? What's the bigger thing? And that was missing. Like, the number of companies you and I have both visited that have, flat screens everywhere, amazing design, free lunch, Now, is somebody going to turn down a better paying job to keep that? No. When we work hard for something we love, it's called passion. When we work hard for something we don't love, it's called stress.
One of the things that I saw in that post-COVID period was, in my company in particular, was one of the things that I believe, and from our research at the time, I'm no longer with this company, so I can kind of talk about it with a bit more honesty. In our questionnaires, we would see that a lot of the reason why people loved to come and work there was because of the company culture.
Right.
We'd gone to extreme lengths. We had like 5 people that were just in charge of happiness, called the happiness team. We paid for everyone's mental health therapy. It was in terms of flexibility, what the world is like now, where you can decide for yourself when you work. And then when COVID came around, we were like known for that in the UK. Like the BBC had done a piece, is this the best place to work? When COVID came around, it smashed our USP because and this is why I almost viewed it as a leveler, because now everyone was working from their laptop at home in their boxer shorts. So now what I think I saw was our employees were going, to some degree, I can work at home in my boxer shorts for this company, or I can work at home in my boxer shorts for this company where they'll pay me more. Double.
Yeah.
And that shift was, and it was terrifying for us because that's when we started to see people leaving, because they would go, oh, well, this company will give me 30% more and I'm still going to be doing my to-do list at home on my own. So why don't I move now?
Yep.
Is there truth to that in your view?
Yeah, of course, because you mistook trappings for culture.
Right.
Right. Now, no, those things are good. Let's not diminish the value of those things. But this is a beautiful full circle we're going in from the very beginning of our conversation, which is to what end? To what end? Like, what are we doing this in service to? What's the bigger thing?
That was missing.
And that was missing.
100%.
And that's where cultures become magic. They're fun. Like, the number of companies you and I have both visited that have, flat screens everywhere, amazing design, free lunch,
We had a slide.
Yeah, you have a slide, like, cool. Now, is somebody going to turn down a better paying job to keep that? No, But if you give them the opportunity to contribute to something bigger themselves, would they turn down a better paying job now? Yes, right? And so I think, and it's probably driven by the whole .com tech culture, but it's because tech companies largely are that sort of ridiculous bright colors slides in every office, which is fun. Don't get me wrong, it's fun, but that's not cause, that's not purpose. And great cultures are organized to advance something bigger than themselves. They're not just fun places to work.
Do you know the thing I think we did wrong is I think we asked people what they wanted.
Yeah.
So they said things like a bar, a basketball hoop.
Yeah.
Whereas, as you're clearly alluding to here, you can't ask people for culture. Like in that regard, you can't ask people to all name the collective cause, because they'll all say different things.
Correct. You have to offer them a cause to join.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons they join the companies, because they believe in the cause, not just because it's a job I want to do. Henry Ford famously said, if I asked people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. This is where folks like Steve Jobs, who's given too much credit for being able to predict what people want, is totally not true. He had a cause, and he simply made products that brought that cause to life, which is to give people the power to stand up to Big Brother. That's it. And we develop technology to empower individuals. That's it. And so those who came to work there, they recognized that they were a part of a revolution, the computer revolution. They constantly talked about it as the revolution. And they invented iTunes, which more than the iPod revolutionized the music industry, turned it from an album culture to a song culture, let us make music portable, and that was the music, they referred to it as the music revolution. And you carried a banner, and you sacrificed for it. Was it a great place to work? It was a hard place to work, but it was worth it. And that's the question. Are the sacrifices worth it? And sometimes we hide the pain or the difficulties or the strains or the stresses with all the silly fun stuff, which is a salve, let's be honest. I mean, it does work to some degree. But not all stress is bad. I joke, often, when we work hard for something we love, it's called passion. When we work hard for something we don't love, it's called stress. Now, in both cases, you're working hard. What's the difference between, doing something you love and you work late hours and you sacrifice your relationships and you sacrifice your family, but you look at it and say, it was hard, but it was worth it, versus losing all those things and all you do is get a Lamborghini at the end. It's like, was it worth it? I'm like, not so sure I'd do that again, And so I think that's what purpose and cause provide us, is they give us a reason for the sacrifice. That's what love gives us. It gives us the reason for the sacrifice. That's what children do. They give us the reason for the sacrifice. Your life will profoundly change when you have a child. Is it worth it? Yes. Is it easy? No. Every person I've ever talked to who has children say it's the most difficult thing they've ever done. And if you ask them if it's worth it, they all say yes. That doesn't go together,
When I think about even this podcast and setting purposeful goals for what we're doing here, we definitely fell in the trap of being, like I think a lot of people do, you get consumed in the charts. Oh my God, we're number one, right?
For now.
For now, yeah. And then you scratch your head and go, well, then what next? What's a more worthy, more purposeful goal for us to have as a team when we're building something like this podcast? Because it's so easy to get, caught up in, we want to be number one in the charts. And that does drive you to some extent.
Yeah.
It seems to be a reason, whether it's a vapid one or whatever. But what is a better, more worthy, purposeful goal to set?
Okay, so let's take a step back.
Uh-oh. Going to interrogate me.
No. What was the reason you did episode 1?
Plentiful. I'm going to give you all of them. I'm very honest as well. Thought podcasting as a medium would be a big opportunity. I thought that would be a really effective medium of communication, one that's growing.
Opportunity for what?
To grow my personal brand.
Okay.
I'm going to give you all of the reasons, even the selfish ones.
Go
Okay.
on.
Number 2, I find it a thrill and deeply compelling and liberating for others to talk about things and be honest in a way that most people aren't usually honest. So in the first episode, I talk about things like masturbation and mental health problems as a CEO, difficulties with my family, all of those things. I find it liberating for myself, but I know for others that listen to it, especially when we got started to get the feedback, it was equally liberating for them. And then so episode 1 is episode 1 was more of an experiment, but as you get to episode 2 or whatever, then it was the feedback. So I was doing a lot of other things that were doing bigger views. My Facebook videos would get 10 million views each. But the feedback I was getting from the 1,000 people that were listening to this was deep. It was profound and it was intense.
And it said things like?
They said things like, I can relate to that. That's really helped me solve this problem I've had. You've made me feel, a big one we get is, you've made me feel like I'm not alone. And then if I go to the last, if I go to more recent times, I quit when I left my job and I was now no longer needed to do anything for money anymore in my life. When I took stock of, because there was about a 6 month or a 1 year gap in this podcast, which is when I was leaving my job. And I took stock of my life and thought about the things I want to do for the rest of my life. And this was one of the things that seemed to touch all bases. It was enjoyable for myself. I get to sit and learn from people like yourself. It feels like, as you said, it's like a service to others, a really profound one, probably the greatest service I feel like I can do to the external world. And it's money generating, but to be honest, if it makes a profit, I just spend it on the podcast. So and that's kind of my thesis. So
okay, so let's back up a second.
Yeah.
I'm just taking on your own words. I'm not adding anything here. Would you rather do this to be number 1, to grow your own brand? Or would you rather do this to tell the truth so it helps others tell the truth to themselves and to others?
Number 2.
Obviously.
Yeah.
And so your podcast absolutely has purpose. And so when you start recognizing that we do this to tell the truth so that others can be honest with themselves and others in a way that they struggle to find anywhere else. And if we're number 1 for a period of time, amazing. But if we're number 2, we'll still do it. If we're number 4, we'll still do it. If we're number 10, we'll still do it. Because there's a reason to do this that's bigger.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.